go. Unfreaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you, that game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from Cooch, wasn't it? What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl-bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. And listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy February 20th, 2026 to you and yours. Make sure you guys follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Man, plenty to get into today. Obviously, the big semifinal matchup coming up a little bit later on between the U.S. and Slovakia, Canada and Finland going on right now. Finland jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Mikko Rantanen on the power play, and then Eric Halla shorthanded, but just saw that Sammy Reinhart scored via deflection in front of the net on the power play. So it's now 2-1 Finland with less than 4.5 minutes to go in the first semifinal today on the ice there in Milan at Santa Giulia Arena. So we'll find out who will be squaring off in the gold medal game on Sunday morning. Again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Not a very easy show, because of what we're going to talk about here momentarily. But a big thank you to Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, and Ever Health as well. We lost a good one this morning, guys and gals. Joey Knight of the Tampa Bay Times, guy that's been covering USF for a long time in this area, passed away after a long battle with cancer. It's been rough. It's been a rough morning. And I just reached out to Joey a couple of weeks ago just to say hello, and he didn't respond, which is very uncharacteristic for him because he and I would trade text messages about a little bit of anything and everything. Yeah, we'll remember him at 12:05 to start off the show. We will also. It's a big show today, and it's kind of poetic. When we signed off yesterday, I said I didn't have any guest plans, and then right as I was walking to practice last night, everything hit me, and I just started booking this person and that person. I booked somebody else this morning. So very poetic that on the day we lost Joey Knight, who dedicated his career to covering South Florida athletics, that our first guest today is Wes Enis, the sharpshooter for USF. A big win last night for the Bulls over in Memphis at the Yuengling Center. An incredible crowd there at the YC. So Wes will join us at 12:15. Also, very fitting that our final guest today at 1:40 will be Marc Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times, Joey's colleague. He's down there in Port Charlotte, the Rays beat writer. So it's I didn't plan it out this way either. I did not know. The world works in mysterious ways, doesn't it? I did not plan it out this way, but this is how it's going to go. We're going to start our show talking about Joey Knight. Our first guest is going to be Wes Enis. Our final guest is going to be Marc Topkin. You're not going to find shows like this here in the Tampa Bay area. This is why this is, the Recher podcast, and this is very unique. You're not going to have a lineup like this. We also have at 12:40 today, Miguel Menendez, the head coach of the Jesuit baseball team, one of the best teams in the country. That is not hyperbole. That is fact. Big matchup tonight for them at Higher Park against Plant. I will be there. If you're going to be in attendance, come on by and say hello. And then, of course, at 1 o'clock, Scott Reynolds of Pewter Report. We're going to talk a little bit of everything on the program today. So we have Joey, we have Bulls, we have local high school baseball, we have Buccaneers, we have Rays, and, of course, some hockey as well. 2-1 Finland, 2:18 left in the second. USA in action at 3:10 today. Hopefully they can win and move on to the gold medal game. Shout out to our women. What an incredible contest yesterday. The resilience and the fight that they showed. Unfreaking believable. Down 1-0 late. Hillary Knight with the tip in front with 2:04 left to tie the game. And then in overtime, Megan Keller, after that incredible stretch pass from Heisey, outside to inside, and then the backhander to win the gold medal for the red, white, and blue. I was yelling here in the house, unfreaking believable. And Layla Edwards, who I didn't think played all that great, um, she was getting outskated to the puck a bunch, but down the stretch, she played some of her best hockey late in the third and in overtime. So good on her. You love to see that. You really love to see that. You look at Hillary Knight, 5 Olympics. You look at Layla Edwards, the first Black female to win a gold medal for Team USA in hockey. Like it's just what an incredible, incredible day, an incredible memory that I won't soon forget. A big shout out to DT David Terry, our guy with the $10 super chat. He's so proud of our girls bringing home the gold. Janet Best, I agree with you. Charles Carney, let's go, Jay, best sports talk radio host in all of Florida. Thank you very much. How about them Bulls is right, Nancy Carroll. R.I.P. Joey. He was a true professional and will be missed. Best for podcasting. Thank you very much, Will Hawkins. All right, let's talk about our guy, Joey Knight. You know, when you're in a position like Joey is, and you're writing about USF, and let's not forget, we are enjoying some of the best times in USF athletics in the last 20 years, at least in the years that I've been here. And just to see the fight that he showed during the time of like some of the best play of USF, I'm glad that before he left this earth that he was able to see success from Alex Golish in USF football and Amir Abdur-Rahim and Brian Hodgson for basketball. To see him in the press box when he was battling cancer and walking so slowly, and he would always walk by and say hello, hey buddy. Our thoughts and prayers go out to him, his family, his friends. I remember when he first came back after his first battle, and Alex Golish took time out of his press conference to acknowledge him, saying that it was good to see you, Joey. And it was great to see him. He came on the show a couple of months ago and he wasn't feeling all that great. I talked to him after that, and there was another time that I wanted to get him on. He goes, Jay, I'm just not up to it. And I go, yeah. And then I reached out to him a couple of weeks ago just to check in on him, just to see how he was feeling, and he didn't respond. And that wasn't like Joey, because we traded text message for 12 years. Even just to say hello. He's contributed to a lot of different things in the past. And man, it's just, this guy was there through some of the toughest times in USF, some of the bad years, and some of these. I remember being there late at night waiting for Charlie Strong to get to the old media room at Raymond James Stadium, and he was on deadline at the Tampa Bay Times, and he was just like, we got to write the story and I got to go. And he was just the ultimate professional. He really was. And he cared. And he caught a lot of crap from people here in the Tampa Bay area when he was reporting on USF, when things were not all that great, when these teams were struggling, when there was some controversies. And Joey reported on it time and time and time again. And a lot of people gave him grief for it. You're not supporting the home team. What kind of coverage is this? Listen, he wasn't there to put lipstick on the pig there. He wasn't there to make the best out of a bad situation. That wasn't his prerogative. He wasn't a cheerleader. He was the beat writer for the Tampa Bay Times covering USF athletics. That was his job. And it wasn't there wasn't many glowing things to write about at times for USF, but he was there. And regardless of what he said, regardless of what he wrote, he showed up. He sat there in the front row, and he asked some of the best questions that any member of the Tampa Bay media was going to ask. Shout out to Scott Carter, who we've had on the show, who covers the Florida Gators, and shout out our guy Matt Baker, who was with the Tampa Bay Times for many years and now with the Athletic. And what Matt had to say about Joey earlier today, how he always made what he was doing feel important because it was important to somebody out there reading. I had this discussion with somebody yesterday. One of the things I really can't stand in life is people that are just like, I don't care. And they have this like, I don't care type attitude. It's okay to care. It's okay to give a crap. Joey always gave a crap, even when the teams are crap. um, it's going to be weird to not see him at USF events because as long as I've been covering USF, he was always there. And if there was anything that I ever heard, if there was anything that he needed clarification on, which wasn't much, but if there was little information here and there, I remember we were talking about before Mitch Hannes got hired, he and I were trading text messages and what'd you hear? What do you think about this guy? And he always was very inclusive. He was always a guy that knew that where I was coming from as a young guy from the radio station, that I didn't get paid extra to go to USF games, but I thought the best way for me to do my job was to be able to cover football and basketball and baseball and stuff and just be a member of the Tampa Bay media and, more important, be a member of the Tampa Bay community. And when you have somebody like Joey Knight that was indoctrinated as one of the foundational members of our Tampa Bay media, you almost had to like earn his respect, right? I wasn't a Johnny come lately. I wasn't a guy that was just going to show up every once in a while. It was important to me to cover everything in the Tampa Bay area. He's a guy that is always going to inspire somebody like myself because it wasn't all NFL with Joey. It wasn't all baseball. It was USF, man. It was USF. And at times when no other media members were there covering South Florida athletics, Joey Knight was there. I know that was his job, but it's not easy being the only guy there, covering a sport, covering a team, talking to a coach when things aren't going well, and when there's not much interest in it. That happens. It happens. USF has grown so much, at least in the last 10 to 12 years that I've been here. He's a big reason why. He was one of the guys that shone the spotlight on South Florida. We all took kind of like, I don't want to say orders, but we kind of took his lead of like, all right, well, you had respect. You had respect for him. You wouldn't ask a question unless it was cool with Joey, right? You would always let him get that first question. That was the most important thing. Showing respect to a guy that was there day in, day out. Even after he got sick, my guy was still there doing his thing. So once again, it is very fitting on a day like this where we lose a reputable member of our Tampa Bay sports media that we start the show talking about him, and our first guest is USF sharpshooter Wes Enis, and the last guest on our show is Joey's colleague, Marc Topkin. All right, so let's bring him in. He just finished up treatment. He just finished up jacking up probably 10,000 threes to get ready for the game. What's going on, Wes? Hold on, your audio's messed up. Micah, help us. I got the beep beep on us. Boom. Got like a techno beat going on right now. Uh-oh. Oh, he's out. He come back. He's going back. He's going to be back in. Gio, ask Wesk about the alley-oops. How many versions of the play do they practice and how many are just instinctive? I don't think they practice alley-oops. I've heard that before. That's just something that's natural. Um, let's see if we can get it. Oh, not the can't hear it on the beep. Maybe just do it on the phone. You figure that. We'll just do it on the phone. No big deal. That's the great thing about the there's some kind of feedback. What happens when something like that happens that the audio and the video feed kind of go in at the same time? So whatever info or audio they're trying to push out is trying to push back in. Um, we'll get it eventually. We'll get it. This is the advances of modern medicine and modern technology here. But again, shout out to our guy Joey Knight, man. Shout out to our guy, no doubt about it. We miss him, and he'll always be with us. There we go. That'll work. If we start hearing some techno beats, then we know it's not you guys, it's me. No more techno beats, Wes. We out
Yes,
here.
sir. Yes,
What's up?
sir.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. What was this morning looking like for you?
Just a little massage and then some treatment. Then get a little work in a little later on. But just resting the body and stuff like that. So
Tell me about that treatment for your body because I know this is one of the things like I remember 20 years ago when everybody was cracking on LeBron, like, hey, spending $1 million on your body, that's kind of crazy. And Tom Brady doing that kind of thing. And it was like, well, both of those guys played into their 40s. So they figured something out that nobody else did. How has that changed for you since you got into college as far as taking care of your body? Because, that you need to be as healthy as humanly possible to be able to perform at a high level.
no, 100%. I think I've done a good job ever since I was in kind of high school doing that. I would
Good.
go to physical therapy and stuff like that, and then college kind of the same thing. And especially this year, with Coach Hodge, we have to get treatment every day, have to get nice help every day. We have amazing trainers, Chris and Ken. They get us right, so they're very, very big on getting our bodies in there. I think sometimes we want to get out of there quick, but we're spending at least an hour in there every day getting our bodies worked on. Like we can't leave the facility unless we go see Chris or Ken and make sure our bodies like feeling 100%.
Yeah, that's so important, man. What was the atmosphere like last night? I had practice. I try to get to as many games as I can covering or watching. I was at my own practice last night. What was the atmosphere like? I saw a bunch of guys with their shirts off. Frank the
Yeah.
Tank was there from Barstool. It looked like it was buzzing last night at the YC.
Yeah, man, it was just elite. It was an unreal atmosphere. I was shooting free throws and I seen the dudes waving their shirts around, and the fans and just the whole city of Tampa, coming out to support us. It just means a lot. You know what I mean? This group works very hard, and then just to see that atmosphere out there, it's unreal.
What about yourself, man? What has worked out so well for you this year? Especially, I mean, earlier this year when you hit all those threes in a couple of games back to back, and Coach Hodson brought up the names of like Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and James Harden. I'm like, damn, bro, that's pretty damn good crew to be associated with to hit 10 plus threes. What has worked so well for you this year in this USF offense?
Yeah, just having great teammates around me. And the coaching staff works their butt off to get you good looks. But I mean, having a dude like Joe who just hit 93s alongside of you, like that's hard to, how do you guard that, when you can't take both of us away. And then, Zay coming around and, cleaning the glass and setting elite screens, and CJ handling the ball and, finding us, and, Josh creating downhill opportunities and spraying the ball. I mean, just having elite teammates around, it allows everybody else to succeed. So, it could be me, it could be somebody else, but that's how it's kind of been working.
Wes, watching you guys since the beginning of the season, and again, I've watched you guys very closely from the beginning until now. I still don't even know if you guys are really firing on all cylinders yet. Like there's certain games where you're on, certain games where Joe's on, certain games where Zay takes over, but it just seems like, man, you guys haven't even really peaked yet. Which when I talked to Coach Hodson a couple weeks ago on the show, he goes, Jay, my goal is to have these guys peaking at the end of February going into March. Does it feel like that? Because I feel like we haven't even got to a game where you're both on hitting threes. Zay's down low, dominating the boards. Josh is getting downhill, and CJ. Like I feel like you're winning games, which is a great thing. Sharing the basketball and making sure that everybody's contributing, but I still feel like there's more to go. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we're taking steps in the right direction to,
Yeah.
peak at the right time. I think we're not there yet by any means. I think there's some times we have lapses, and we're still working on, trying to complete that of 40 minutes of a full complete game, offensively and defensively. So I think that we're taking steps in the right thing. I don't think we're at the peak by any means, but we're taking strides to where we want to be.
defensively, right? That's kind of the thing with the hard hat, with the TNT. Coach has been talking about that since day one, since he stepped into the building here. How much has that changed? And he came on the show after that Temple game, and he was, you know, Coach as well as anybody, brother. He does not mince words, and he'll tell me on the record, off the record, if it ain't good enough. He was bothered by that game, and he goes, "We got punked, Jay. We got punked." And I think he can understand if you guys miss some threes, right? But if you don't have that toughness, especially on the road and especially come postseason time, you're not going to do anything, regardless of how well you shoot the basketball. What has that change been like? Because it looks like in the last couple of weeks, whatever message he sent to you guys after that game, it's really hit home.
Yeah, I think it changed a lot. It we weren't happy with ourselves with that Temple game. We knew we shouldn't have lost that game, and
Right.
they played a better game than us. They were tougher, and they just dominated us. But we knew we couldn't let that happen again, so we had to, what I mean, get ready to go. But coach sent that message out, and then we kind of all came together and we're like, let's go, and let's do what we need to do.
And we've seen that, man. It's just been incredible. The atmosphere, like I just said, at the Yingling Center has been nuts. What has been your favorite part about being here in the Tampa Bay area outside of the basketball?
Man, I mean, you walk out and you see palm trees. It's hard to be, sad or anything. You know what I mean? So that's
Right.
hard. It's amazing. The weather's great at all times. I get texts from my mom in their group chats, and then 12 inches of snow back home, and I'm like, I'm good. I like the heat down here. So, and then just the people. Again, like you said, the atmosphere. Like this city loves basketball, and it shows. So, just having that support is awesome.
What is the number one thing you focus on when your shot is not falling? So if you're in the zone, right? I'm sure when you're throwing the basketball into the hoop, it looks like you're throwing a ball into the ocean. But let's say you're one for your first five, you're 0 for your first four, something like that. What's your mindset? Is it keep firing it away? Is it try to get to the hoop and maybe get a layup? Is it try to get to the free throw line so you can at least see the ball go through the basket? Like, what's your mindset? Because I know it's different for a lot of different people. So when things aren't falling for you early in the game, what's your mindset?
Yeah, the mindset doesn't really change too much. It's just taking good shots. You can take 100 good shots, and you may go 5 for 100. You may go 90 for 100. So that's how I think about the game of basketball. I feel very confident. If it's a good shot, even if I'm 0 for 8, I feel like it's gonna go in. But as long as they're good shots, you know what I mean. So just allow them to play through the offense and let it flow. And then if I have a good shot, take it. If not, keep moving it. So that's really just my mindset. It doesn't matter if the ball is going in. I don't really care about the result. It matters if
Mhm.
it's a good shot.
You and Joe Pinion, you mentioned him before hitting 93. It's just amazing. What a crazy number. Do you guys compete at all in practice? Do you guys have shooting competitions or anything?
Coach will set up a couple of shooting competitions sometimes. We've definitely went against each other a couple of times.
Who's won? Who won?
I think it's tied right now between me and him. So we're gonna run it back on the road or something when we get a little shoot around.
Who is the guy that, because it's always funny, like growing up playing ball, like you'd have the guys that are like, all right, you're two big home run hitters. I was a baseball guy, and then you'll have that third guy like, I can hit a home run and he'll hit like one. Is there another guy on the team that tries to get in those shooting competitions with you guys, thinking they can
It's
jack
gotta
it up
be
like
it's
you
gotta be Zay. It's gotta be Zay. Zay thinks he's a sniper.
Yeah.
You gotta be Zay for sure. And then DC he'll chirp a
Yeah.
little bit, you know what I mean, think he can shoot. We have to shut it down real quick.
Coach told me a couple weeks ago, Zay, he thinks Zay's the best player in the conference. What is it about him? I mean, even a couple of games ago, I'm watching, and he at the end of the game, he's got 9 points and 9 boards, and they're like, this is one of his worst games of the year, and I'm like, bro, think about it. It's one of your worst games of the year, and you're about to have a double double. Like
Mhm.
that's just wild to me. What has his impact been like for this Bulls team?
Man, it's just unreal, what he does, and it's just like kudos to his hard work. In the summer, he was here every day in the morning, getting an early morning workout and another workout. So, it's just unbelievable what he's able to do. He just dominates the game, and he makes up for a lot of things. That we might struggle with at times. You get beat. He's coming right there to block a shot. You miss a box out on accident. Well, Zay came in, he flew in, and got the rebound. So just everything he does offensively and defensively is just. I mean, I don't think it gets talked about enough in the country. I think he's one of the best bigs in the country. I think he's one of the best players in the country. I think he's that talented and he's that good.
I totally agree with you, my man. What when you leave there after basketball, after treatment, what do you do to decompress?
I just like I watch basketball. That's what I do. I go home, I watch basketball, and I like to just chill with my teammates. I don't really
College or pros?
everything. I watch everything. I
Everything.
watch EuroLeague. I watch NBA. I watch college, high school. Like it doesn't matter. I just love the game of basketball. So just sit on my couch, watch some basketball, and then go hang out with my teammates and stuff like that.
Who are your favorite teams growing up, and who are your favorite teams to watch now?
So favorite teams growing up. You talking about basketball, any sports, or like what sports?
Whatever. I talk everything. You see behind me, baby.
I see you. I see you.
I
I
do
see you.
everything. I do everything
Um,
here.
Probably. I grew up like in Ohio. Like everyone's a Ohio State fan for football, of course,
Yeah.
but I never was like a big like fan of like a certain team. I like just watching college football. But growing
Right.
up, probably I was a little bit of a Duke fan growing up for sure. Let me see what else. I love the Cleveland Browns. That's my team for sure. And then any
Wow.
team LeBron's on, I'm a big
Yeah.
LeBron fan. So right now it's the Lakers. You know what I mean?
How did you become a Duke fan? Because it's funny that you say that. When I was 5, I'm aging myself now here, buddy. In 1990, the Duke won. Duke 90 or 91. Duke won the national championship, and Pepsi came out with a blue soda,
Hmm.
and we got them from the supermarket. And I asked my dad as a 5-year-old, "Can I be a Duke fan?" He's like, "You be a fan of whoever you want." I grew up in New York, bro. My dad was a
Yeah.
St. John's fan, Syracuse fan, and ever since then, through all the trials and tribulations, through the wins, through the first round exits to Bucknells of the world, I've been a Duke fan. What made you a Duke fan? Was it because they were good? Was there a specific player?
Yeah, I think just growing up and seeing all the best players, like they like the people I look up to, like Jason Tatum, Kyrie,
Mhm.
but actually it was like old like Christian Leitner, like
Yeah,
seeing his old stuff. That's kind of what like made me like, oh, I kind of like them, and then so yeah, they kind of
yeah,
remind me of like the Bad Boy Pistons. Like I like them
yeah.
going. I've always loved watching their 30 for 30 on that. Those are always good watches.
Yeah, my yeah, Leitner, Bobby Hurley, Jason Williams was my favorite player of all time.
Hmm.
Jason Williams, if you ever get a chance, I don't know if you've ever seen it. Jason Williams beating Maryland, he scored like 11 points in 59 seconds or something like that. It was one of the craziest performances in basketball history. You got to check that out. Um, if you if you're driving home, your car breaks down, you got to call somebody on the team, and he's going to come pick you up. Who is it?
I know he's gonna come pick me up. Probably DC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
that guy. Is he the guy? Because I hear that from a lot. Is he the guy? Is he the glue guy? Like if he, it seems like when a lot of people get a lot of love, a lot of attention, DC seems to be, from what I hear, the guy. He's kind of like the glue guy of this team. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I think we all bring something a little special, and DC's just like you funny dude, goofy. I have to get on his butt a little bit, talk a little trash to him. You know what I mean? I call him my little bro, even though he's 7 feet tall. So
Wes, what's something about this USF team that nobody knows? Obviously, when you talk about the beginning, and you talk about Coach Hodgson, you talk about CJ Brown staying here and not in transferring. They talk about you and Joe being able to hit those threes and how great Zay has been. And you mentioned Josh and DC and some of the other guys. What is something that the Tampa Bay area, what is something that the nation doesn't necessarily know about this USF basketball team?
I would say just how connected we are, like how connected we are, how much love we have for one another. Like these dudes are really like all our brothers. And we really genuinely mean that. Like dude, this team is super close. Like anybody calls anybody if you need some, it's whatever. Like this team really has a lot of love for one another. Like we don't care who's got it going, who's getting accolades. Like it doesn't matter. This is the most fun team I've had. Doing it with. Like no one cares. There's no like we have no drama, no nothing. Like it's just all love, all like all together. Like I think that's something that nobody really knows about us.
And what about Coach Brian Hodgson? I mean, he's got to be the guy that really instills that, right? At what point does it become a team? That's one thing that we've heard a lot in the past from a lot of successful teams. When it's player driven, when the coach doesn't have to tell you the right way to act and the right things to do, that's when you can reach an incredible height when it comes to your sport. What about Coach Hodgson setting the tone? And then at what point, if there was a point where you guys really took that TNT mindset to heart, where he didn't have to harp on it as much, you guys just, instead of just played like that, kind of lived like that?
Yeah, I think over the summer he kind of instilled it a lot, and then just gradually, going through all these games. I mean, this is a new team, so even the first game of the year is the first game with everybody together. You know what I mean? So growing throughout the year, and then kind of he's kind of like realized, okay, this team's mature, and we do it like he's he understands like we're the ones getting on one another. Like, yo, we got to pick it up. Like, let's go. That's kind of been after the break of the Christmas break, he kind of like understood like. We know what we want to do, and he trusts us because he's instilled all that, and he's shown like he's seen the growth that we've had with all that.
Wes, before I let you go, what is your message to Bulls Nation, everybody out there that supports you guys, and what's the goal for this team? Because you look at what you guys are doing, and as I alluded to before, Coach said, Jay, I want this team to peak at the end of February and into March, and it looks like you guys are playing some of your best ball of the season right now. So your goals and your message to the Tampa Bay and fan base and the home of hoops, USF Bulls Nation.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Bulls Nation. Coming out to our games and supporting us. I mean, it really, really does help. Like honestly, like having them out there is definitely another defender for the other opposing team. They don't want to come in here and play us like at all. I mean, you see the students there. I think they said like 2,000 some students was there, and it was just electric. Like having that behind you. I mean, you just play a little better. Like you got your dogs behind you. Like it's awesome. And then just some goals that we have. Of course, we want to win American. And we want to go to the NCAA tournament. That's a goal of ours. But we're just taking one game at a time right now, trying to get better every day. Not looking past the next opponent. Like we have Rice, who's a very, very good team. So we're not looking past them, and we got to just stay down and stay focused on getting better each day.
The great Wes Enis, the University of South Florida sharpshooter. If you go to a game, there's a good chance he's chucking up a three, and it's swishing through the hoop. Wes, appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Best success for the rest of the year. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, buddy.
As you, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Wes Enis, a huge reason why USF has been crushing it, absolutely crushing it this year in the American. They just keep getting better and better and better. What a great message for him. Unbelievable. I know, Gio, you wanted to get in on the conversation, buddy. If anybody wants to get in the conversation, here is the link right there in the chat, streamyard.com/BV9TC3YFU5. Or just click on the link in the chat. It's a lot easier. Miguel Menendez is going to join us here momentarily in about 7 minutes from Jesuit baseball. Tough loss last night against IMG. Their first loss of the year, but they're back in action against Plant tonight. Update on Canada and Finland. Finland has only 11 shots with now 15 minutes left in the third period. Only 11 shots, but 2 of them have gone in. They still lead 2-1. Canada is outshooting them 23-11, 14:57 left in the third. Let's go to our guy. He's been supporting me for a very, very long time, and it's the one and only Gio. What's up, pal?
Hey, you got two ends of the spectrum. A thrilling, dominating win against Memphis. And then this morning you find out one of the greatest media members in the history of Tampa Bay passes away. And I look at as the last game he got to call with Lighthall was a great comeback on Saturday night. And then you read a great article that he writes about the USF basketball team. So that's the way you do it. You end with a great call, just like Dave Wills. The day before Dave Wills died, he called a game. And,
well, I think that Joey Johnston's on the call with, not Joey Knight. I think you're mixing
but the point being is that he covers USF.
Yes. Okay.
He covers USF, and it was just unbelievable.
Got it.
Here's one thing that has got to be said about USF Nation. It's a family.
It sure is.
And this is really going to be felt when everybody's reading newspapers and anybody's reading articles and anybody's looking back on Joey's career. He was amazing in the fact that he's 30 years. I mean, he's like Jim Lauk of the newspaper. Yeah. So, but a great interview with Wes Enis. And don't forget, I got the invite out for Jay Recher to go to that tournament with UAB. I know it'd be crazy for you to do it. I got a free hotel room for you to stay in if you want to go. But hey, go Bulls, and let's wrap up the regular season. And Wes Enis is going to help us win a title. We've never won that tournament. Is that correct? Yep. We've never won that tournament?
Never won the tournament. Won the regular season, but never the tournament.
Okay, great. All right, thanks for taking my call, Jay.
You got it, pal. Good stuff as always with our guy Gio. Gio's been there supporting me since day one at WDAE, and I can't thank him enough for that. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, and I know that there was a little dust up between Wes Enis and Coach Hodgson last night, but I don't look at things like that. I don't think that's something when I'm watching. I'm not like worried about that. That happens when you're a competitor. It happens when you care. I don't. That's it is what it is. So yeah. Man, I tell you what, if Canada loses this game to Finland and we do not get a gold medal game between US and Canada, like, would that be the biggest letdown? Would that be the biggest letdown in recent history? Like, if I don't even want to say it, but if neither one of them make it, it's just like, who's going to be tuning into that gold medal game? Not many people. People in those countries, yes, but not, as far as what it could be if it's US and Canada. And that's the weird part for me. Like, I want to see this. I want to see this game Sunday. I want to see this so bad. US and Canada. They're the two best teams, but the best teams don't always win. You got to go out there and you got to play your ass off. And right now, Finland is still leading 2-1. If there was one team outside of the United States that you wouldn't want to be trailing, it would probably be the Finns because of how structured they are and how well they play defensively. And they have some of the best defensive forwards in the game. And that's saying a lot without a guy like Sasha Barkov being in the lineup. But you still have Aho and Rantanen and Lundell and Luosterainen. I mean, these guys are just absolutely incredible. So they're going to have to hold on. I mean, that clock is going to be going as slow as humanly possible for Finns, not only in that building, but all across the world as they try to cling and hold on to this 2-1 lead against Canada with now less than 13 minutes left in the third period of semifinal number 1. Again, U.S. and Slovakia plays at 3:10 today. No Sidney Crosby in this one. That lower body injury that he sustained against Czechia kept him out of this one. Connor McDavid wearing the C because you have to have a captain in the Olympics. In the NHL, they don't necessarily change the C like that. They'll just rock with a couple of assistants, but that is not how it goes in the Olympics. Wow. This is it's going to be a hell of a finish. And what we've seen in the last 3 days, hockey, and somebody was asking me this, I think it was Greg DeCruz, our Costa Rican correspondent, your favorite sport? And I said, well, that's why hockey is my favorite sport. He goes, not football? And I go, nope. Hockey, 100%. And you've seen it. And you're talking about a guy that coaches baseball and loves baseball, and it's in my blood. But hockey's it, man. It's the best combination of everything. It's skill, it's speed, it's toughness. There's a family element to it as well. There's a selflessness about it. There's a humility about it. It's the hardest trophy to win in all the sports. And then when you see this, you see the performances, you see how Finland came back down 2-0 to Switzerland. You see how Canada came back after being down late in their game. You see how the U.S. came back after giving up the goal to Sweden late to win the game in overtime, Quinn Hughes. And then the women yesterday, Hillary Knight tipping that shot from Layla Edwards from the point, scoring that goal with 2:04 left to tie the game against Canada. And then Megan Keller with the golden goal. Those are the games that you dream about. And so glad we were able to watch that yesterday. All right. Very glad that I'll be able to watch this tonight. I'll be there at Higher Park. And look, he's all snazzy right now. It's our good buddy, head coach of the Jesuit Tigers, Miguel Menendez. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's happening, Jay? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How's the school day going
hear me?
today? Yeah, I can. You hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I hear you. Good. It's going well. I'm actually here in weight training class right now. As we speak.
Awesome, man. I'm so
Can't
excited
you tell
about
I'm dressed just for weight training class, right?
I can tell, man. I'm so excited to be out there tonight. I haven't seen you guys this season, but I get over there a lot. How exciting was it for you knowing that you had some of the best players in the country with, and then we've talked about it on the show with Wechter and Anderson and Muhammad and a bunch of these guys. I mean, how exciting was it for you to just finally lace up the cleats and to be able to get out there for game one this year?
It's just, you go through that whole off season, right? And you get through the fall baseball season and everything that they're doing. And this from the summer, obviously we had the disappointment of losing the state semis last year. They get through summer ball, fall ball, and it's kind of like everybody's just like, all right, can we get through all this stuff and just like get to February, right? And play games and play teams and against people that it really counts, right? So it's been fun. This has been a great group. It's a special group. Obviously, we're really talented and a bunch of talented seniors, but even, a lot of talented juniors and sophomores as well. But just to be able to go out and play somebody else other than ourselves has been, I think, our guys, I think our hitters have really enjoyed not facing our arms in inter squad games and actually getting to face other teams.
I love that. How do you manage expectations early in the year when you see all these preseason rankings and you see how high you're ranked, not even locally, but nationally? How do you manage those expectations knowing how long the season really is?
For us, we talk about it all the time. Like, we don't hide from it. Obviously, we appreciate it and we appreciate that people think that highly of our team. And obviously we feel very similarly to that. So we don't hide from it, but at the same time, it's what can we control? And all the thing we can control is playing who's on our schedule and really going to winning the state championship. All that other stuff is nice and it's great. And our guys enjoy it. And I'm sure, the school enjoys the publicity that comes with those kind of things. But for us, it's, if we win a state championship at the end of the day, then the other things that maybe could come along with that will be there at the end, and we'll have a chance at those too.
The $1 million question is how you guys have been so successful with Louis Martinez on the coaching staff. But I mean, I know he texts me after he sees this. But just the coaching staff, how important is that, Miguel, over the years? I mean, ever since you've joined Jesuit, it's been you haven't had many changes there, man. You guys have had pretty much the same guys. And I feel like that is one of the recipes for success. There's a consistency with your coaching staff. I mean, tell us about some of those guys and how important they've been to your success.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Jay. Like, those guys have been here. I mean, Tim Knowles has been here. He was here with Coach Crumley as a coach. Obviously played for Coach Crumley, came back and coached with Coach Crumley. He was here with Richie Warren, and now he's here with me. So, he's been through it all. He's seen it more than anybody, and he's the guy that I'm going to go to when it comes to, like, hey, how do we do something? What do we need to do here in the past and make sure it lines up with what's right with Jesuit legacy, right? But Mike Swinson, Ryan Stanley, Louis Martinez, now those guys have been with me the whole time I've been here. This is year 12 now. So Daniel Gibson's kind of the newcomer, but again, a guy who's a Jesuit alum and played in the program and coached here. And this is his third year on varsity with us as a pitching coach, but spent a year with the JV as well. So it's great to have people that, for me, I think I had this, I talked to Jarrett yesterday about this, like, I get to kind of just manage and I trust those guys completely. We're all on the same page and they kind of go do their thing. Louis and Tim can go handle the infielders and Mike can handle the outfielders. Gibby handles the pitchers. I get to stay in my little bubble with the catchers. Sometimes that makes me happy, but, and we all kind of chip in with the hitters, obviously. But from that perspective, it just allows me to kind of just manage and really focus on, for me, what's kind of helped us be successful, which is culture. And, like, I try to really hammer that home with the guys and we talk about different things. And, I don't have to worry so much about the baseball stuff because I have such a great staff that can handle the everyday stuff.
Miguel just mentioned Jarrett, alluding to our guy, Jarrett Guthrie from 813 Preps. We've talked about him all the time, 813preps.com. Nobody covers high school baseball in the entire country quite like our guy, JG. So if anybody can go out there and support and go check out the website, 813preps.com. Just a good friend. And any way that I know Miguel feels the same way, any way we can support him, we certainly will. How do you manage expectations, I guess, individually for the players, right? Because you have guys that go to Jesuit that may not even play, and they're committing to college. I mean, it just doesn't like that. I mean, there's other high schools around, Miguel, where, unless you're starting and excelling, you're probably not playing at the next level. You've got guys that are on your bench. You've got guys that maybe not even playing at your school that are already going to be committed to play at the next level. How do you handle those guys that are used to playing all the time, and now they're kind of in a secondary supplementary role where they're not seeing as much field time at the high school level?
Well, I think again that goes back to culture, what we talk about, right? Like just making sure everybody's on the same page, and as from our whoever we want to view as our best player on the team to the guy who
Mhm.
maybe is last on the roster, like they all have one mission, and that's to go win baseball games. They want to win a state championship, and those guys like as good as some of our top guys are, and we got guys that may be first round draft picks and all that kind of stuff, like their main focus is winning a state championship. And
Right.
so when your best players are guided that way, it helps shape everybody else on the roster. Now, the beautiful thing for us is, and this is the guy who's been in travel ball, like the summer circuit is so important. And for
Yeah.
recruiting wise, that our guys, they know they're going to get seen in the summer. They're playing in organizations that are really good. And they're getting chances, even if they're not playing for us particularly, they're getting chances to be seen. And they value what we bring here, not just from a baseball program at Jesuit, but from a school, from academic side, from the faith side. All those kind of things really I think allow our parents, number one, that to really buy
Mhm.
into it, but our players too to buy into it. And, they're willing, but like you said, we got 3 kids who aren't on our team right now that are committed to go play college baseball. We have a couple junior or seniors this year who threw 1 inning each last year that are committed and going to play at Indiana and Johns Hopkins. So again, it's tough to manage at times, right? But those
Yeah.
are like we say around here, first world problems that we much rather be dealing with than maybe some other guys.
How do you get your schedule together for your out of conference games, your teams that you're scheduling? You play in the IMGs, you'll play teams from other states. When do you get that together? Is that something that's done a month before the season, 6 months before the season, last year? And how do you kind of balance that of making sure that you're focusing on what you're doing here, but finding the right competition? Because you have a very unique perspective, and the way you schedule is pretty much different than anybody else here in the Tampa Bay area.
Well, we have much more freedom than the public schools for sure, right? Like we
Right.
control our own schedule, which is a benefit to us. But a lot of that is connections and just the name. Everybody kind of knows Judge Baseball, and that's where
Yeah.
probably being in those polls and being recognized by these programs,
Right.
right? Like that really helps us, right? People want to come play us and travel down here and play us. But a lot of it too is just connections that we made in the past. It's maybe people that we've met through travel ball. Maybe it's people we played with in college. We have
Mhm.
Coach Knowles is one of his good friends that he played with at UNC Charlotte as a head coach at a school in Ohio. They come down and play us. So Beta in Ohio. So like all those kind of things help. IMG, that's just kind of, it's been a natural fit for us to play. And, honestly, when the state went to this power rankings for us, it made it a little bit easier in the sense of we don't have to play any district games. And it's,
Right.
no disrespect, I'm going to probably offend
Yeah.
somebody, but we didn't really want to play it doesn't do us
Yeah.
any good to play some of those teams that were
Mhm.
in our district. So for us, it's allowed us the freedom to go out and try to maximize the best we can. And, and knowing that, win or lose, it really, the strength of schedule helps you no matter what. Like
Mhm.
it gives us the flexibility to go out there and challenge our guys so that hopefully when come playoff time, we're prepared and ready to go compete to win a state championship.
Talk to me about your starting pitchers, man. I mean, you have yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a luxury. I mean, you can roll out a couple of different guys that throw above 90, 92, 94, 96 miles an hour. What goes into the thought process of starting certain guys on certain days? And are you going to give us a hint on who's going to start tonight against Plant? Can we get some breaking news on the Jay Recher podcast?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know that it's a hint. I don't know that it's a secret, but Caden Wechter is getting the ball tonight. So
There we go. Okay, so I'll text Dougie so he knows. He probably already does.
If you want something breaking news, there
Yes.
is a rumor. Little Birdie has told me that Orestes Estrada may be joining our own Doug Police on the play-by-play call tonight in the live
Really?
stream.
Okay.
That's what I've heard. I don't know.
All right.
I can't 100% verify that, but I believe that may be happening tonight.
I love that.
But yeah,
I love that.
for us, it's kind of balancing. We have the luxury of I like to say 1A, 1B, 1C because it's hard to say 1, 2, or 3. Like all these guys are those 3 guys, and Caden Wechter, Wilson Anderson, and Samir Muhammad are they're aces in their own right. So for us, it's just trying to line it up and make sure the matchups that we feel are it just trying to, honestly, it's not even really a matchup. It's more of like Caden plays shortstop. So like we try to flow him the last game of the week because
Mhm.
he can play short the first 2 games, right? Like,
Right.
and all these guys are 2-way guys. So trying to manage some of those things. And then early it's trying to manage pitch count and build them up the right way. Like, last week we only had 2 games. So it allowed us to throw, I don't want to leave Ben Burke out of this, but we threw Samir in the first game of the week with Ben Burke. And then we threw Wilson and Caden back to back. but that allowed us to kind of, as we're building their pitch count up, kind of do those kind of things. But for us, it's just the games that it really, we all they all know what the big games are. Like Wilson and Caden are each will get one start against IMG each, right? Like we'll just kind of alternate. Probably the same thing for Tampa Catholic. Unfortunately for Wilson, like he doesn't get the plant game because he had IMG last night. So now you get Caden tonight. So, but it'll, we play Trinity Christian, who Wilson's played with a ton in the past with those guys in summer ball. So he'll get that game when we play them. So again, we just try to mix and match more than anything. Like for us, it's not really matchups so much just because we have faith in all three of those guys. It's just trying to line them up and make sure that we're not abusing them and not overusing them and that they're fresh come playoff time.
Yeah, and that was the next thing I was gonna ask you. That's got to be the most important thing for me. And I was hearing another high school coach say this earlier this week. Of as much as we want to make sure we're playing well enough and playing good teams and having the power rankings, like it really is about crescendoing and peaking in the postseason, and especially for you guys. Is it fair to say that you guys are state title or bust with the team that you have? Does that change it every year? I mean, because it just, and I've, and of course I'm always I'm always blowing everything up in the Tampa Bay area. This is the greatest thing ever. But I've been telling people that you guys could be one of the best high school teams that at least I've seen in the 20 years that I've lived here. So is that the mindset? I know it's not your goal because you guys want to take it incrementally, but when you look at the grand scope of everything, do you, because your team is so talented, do you look at it as state championship or bust when it comes to results-oriented questions?
I mean, I would say that's probably every year, right? Like no matter what, we feel that way. But with this group in particular, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. We would probably be disappointed if we don't win a state championship with this group. We feel like we're good enough. Now, that being said, there's a lot that goes into it. You got to have a little bit of luck, even no matter how talented you are. Like, things got to fall your way. And, every once in a while, like, I think about some of the state championships, in 2019 where, maybe, Jefferson might argue a borderline strike call away from losing to them in the regional semis, and then Cole hits a ball off the wall and we walk them off, and then you go win a state championship. So again, no matter how talented you are, sometimes it's still high school baseball. They're still 16, 17, 18 years old. And as well as I do in this game, you just get one guy on that mound that is really good that day, and maybe you hit a bunch of balls right at somebody, just things don't fall your way. Like you can lose at any time. So as much as we don't hide behind it. I mean, since, day one of probably every year we talk about state championships. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say like, we don't think that way, but at the same time, like we do try to focus on the process and understanding there is a path that we have to go. And if we're playing our best baseball, we can live, like I tell them all the time, if we win the last game or not win the last game, I'm going to love them the same no matter what. And at the end of the day, like as long as we played our best baseball and somebody beats us, hey, we can live with that, right? What you don't want to have happen is you go out there and you feel like you lose because you didn't play well that day, and you got to live with that regret. And that's what you hope doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'll always remember the Jimmy Clifford and Ethan Valdez. I mean, those two guys. It's just an incredible performance helping you win a state championship that year. All right, last one before I let you go. Of course, I always have to ask you about the games with Tampa Catholic. I was there last night for an inning after practice, watching them against Berkeley, and to see Richie Warren and Coach Crum out there. I don't know how they let Coach Crum still coach. But just the rivalry with TC, I think it's one of the best rivalries in all of high school sports. And with the job that Paulie's done, he's been there the last couple of years. It's something special. I know your goals are state championships, and you have the ability to schedule a lot of different teams out there. But I mean, whether it's there or whether it's at your place, I mean, it's just, there's nothing like it. What is it about those games? Is it the alumni? Because you see people that don't show up to a high school game all year long, but they won't miss Jesuit GC, will they?
No, they will not. Like my wife gets mad at me sometimes because she's not allowed to wear any kind of green. Like she, I'm like, I'm a big Hurricane fan. I will not buy a green Miami Hurricane shirt. Like I just, there's certain things that color green that brings out a certain thing. But no, it's just, it's such a great rivalry. They're right down the street, obviously, but the alumni, everybody knows how you feel about each other, and it's just in a good, in a fun way, right? That's the beautiful thing about it. But and then now I feel like myself anyway, we're so kind of intertwined between, Paulie being there and Cole and Tripper helping out and Pat's involved and Big Paul, right? Like it's just like for me, like, Cole and Trip play for me. So like, it's great. Like we text all the time. Like it's funny, and So again, like all those things, it just makes it special when you get a chance to play those guys, and it's bragging rights, right? Like that's the beautiful thing about it. Like it's not a state championship, but in some cases, right, and maybe more important, right, to go try to win those games. So again, it's like those are the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing about the rivalry, and it's the passion that the kids play with, the passion that the student bodies have for it, the alumni, like all those things make it special, and it's such a long-standing rivalry, and it's two of the obviously best legacies in baseball and histories with baseball in the county. I think that's what makes it so special.
Yeah, I mean, I love going every year. I don't miss those games. It's just so much fun. And you're right, it's the best of the best when it comes to baseball in the Tampa Bay area between Tampa Catholic and Jesuit. And you see behind me, I can't put up one hat without the other.
No,
I can't put up UT without USF.
You didn't even put us together. You make sure you separate us with that UT hat.
I know.
I appreciate it.
I know how this whole thing goes. And I was like, I got the USF in there because I love all my Tampa baseball teams. Miguel, thank you so much for your time, brother. I'll see you tonight. We'll catch up, and best of luck the rest of the season, man. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you having me on. Take care.
All right, buddy. See you, buddy. Good stuff as always. Miguel Menendez, the head coach of Jesuit baseball. I'll see him in a couple hours at Higher Park. Go to a game. The game tonight's going to be great against Plant. You're going to see Caden Wechter on the mound. You heard it here. You may even see Orestes Estrada in the house as well. Breaking news here on the Tampa Bay, the Jay Recher podcast. But if you've never been to a Jesuit TC game, my God, whoa, bro, it is nuts. 2-2 game we got here. 2-2. A goal. It looked like Shea Theodore scored 2-2 with about 9 minutes left. We're at 4:12 left on my screen here. 2-2. Canada outshooting Finland 33-15. We'll see what happens here. Do the Canadians come back once again? They've showed a lot of resilience. They're not going to give in. You just wonder if, do they have a chance? I mean, Mitch Marner, he's just a different guy in international play. An incredible move there. Inside out move. He does such a great job of keeping the puck away from the fender and then shoots a puck to the far side. A great pad save from UC Saros, and Suzuki in front of the net couldn't get to the rebound. A hell of a defensive play by the Finnish forward there. UC Saros with 31 saves, the netminder for the Nashville Predators. And this was a guy that they gave a long-term contract. If you don't remember, Nashville drafted a Russian goaltender in the first round a couple of years ago, Yaroslav Askarov, that since then they've traded him. But they were thinking that Askarov, and I remember because I think that was the one that I was there in Vancouver. I know for a fact that Nashville thought that they were getting their Vasilevsky, drafting Yaroslav Askarov, and instead he didn't develop as quickly as they have, and then UC Saros really came to the forefront. And you remember for many, many years, Pecorine was their guy. So they go with UC Saros, they sign him to the long-term deal, and they end up moving on from Askarov. And UC Saros, I don't know if he's played his best the last couple of years, but man, he has really shown out here for Finland. I think you could argue he's played better than Jordan Binnington in this game, but all you got to do is make the saves when they count. That's the most important thing. Less than 4 minutes to go. Anton Lundell, Joel Armia, and Eetu Luosterainen on the ice right now for Finland. You got Rasmus Ristolainen as well, and that's a tough loss. That's the big thing. And you heard Paul Maurice say about this a couple of weeks ago. Anton Lundell is going to be the captain of the Florida Panthers one day. And that's saying a lot with, Sasha Barkov being their captain right now. But there's that same thing with that Finnish mentality. And Barkov was a guy that people thought that didn't have enough juice and, was kind of a little bit too passive. And playing with Jaromir Jagr a couple of those years really changed his mindset. And he's become one of the best players in all of hockey. I mean, if you give me one guy to have in all three zones to play good offense and defense, I don't know if I would pick somebody else. He's just that good. So we'll see what happens down the stretch. 3:32 left on the clock there in the third period. Canada and Finland tied 2-2. Winner goes to the gold medal game. Second semifinal at 3:10 today between the U.S. and Slovakia. Cannot wait for that. All right, let's bring him in, one of our favorite guests here on the program to talk a little Buccaneers football, and it's our good friend Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good, Jay. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm excited about the Olympics, and today's just been such a great show. We've done so many different things, and I'm glad to be able to talk some Buccaneer football with you. It's a little bit of a slow time, but it's never really a slow time in the NFL, right? I mean, you're always trying to keep an eye on what's going on with the coaching staffs and what's going on with Mike Evans, and we'll talk about Mike in a second here. You and I we've had such great in-depth discussions about Todd Bowles. And I think that this is very important for a lot of people to understand, and I'm sure you agree. Like, he's going to exhaust every single resource and avenue that he has, because this quite possibly could be his final year as a head coach in the National Football League. I don't see another team giving him an opportunity. He's not getting any younger. They're erring on the side of young, offensive-minded head coaches. Just don't see as many guys like Todd Bowles getting opportunities. It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely. What do you make of the moves that he's made so far, just on the coaching staff, to try to make this look a little bit different when it comes to the chefs in that Bowles kitchen trying to come up with a winning recipe?
I mean, we have to start with the fact that, and I'm not saying this to be derogatory, I'm saying this as fact, because Todd Bowles believes he has all the answers. Okay. And, it's his show, it's his defense. And I'm not saying he doesn't take input from others, but he doesn't solicit input really from others. It's not a collaborative process like it is on the offensive side. And that's okay. I mean, John Gruden, when he ran the offense here in Tampa, he had Bill Muir as his offensive coordinator. That was just a title. Bill Muir was the offensive line coach, right? That was John's offense. So again, I'm not disparaging Coach Bowles by saying anything like that, because the guy with the most wins in franchise history, the won the Super Bowl, John Gruden, was that way on offense. He was like, this is my show, my scheme. I'm running it. I'll tell my assistants how to coach it, and get the players ready, and it's my show. Same kind of thing with Todd Bowles, and that's okay. What I do like about the changes he's made is it's a concerted effort to get younger. And with youth comes energy. Unless you're 72-year-old Danny Smith, and then you're born with energy, you're going to die with energy, because he is an Energizer Bunny as the new special teams coordinator. So, I think that's a key thing. Tim Atkins, the new safeties coach, spent years working under Todd Bowles, going back to his Jets days as like a quality control coach. He spent the last few years here in Tampa under Nick Rapone, so he knows that safety room and all of the participants well. Same with Rashad Johnson. He worked alongside Kevin Ross, who was a former player under Todd Bowles out in Arizona, 40 years old, has spent the last 3 years coaching the Nickels on this team. And you look at those three different rookies he's had, he got them all ready to play. Christian Izien in 23, Tyke Smith in 24, Jacob Parrish last year. Those three players all had really good rookie seasons. So I'm hopeful that, because these guys are literally 2 decades younger than the men they're replacing. And then you have Marcus West coming in, who's, I think, 42. Charlie Strong was 65. Nothing against old guys. I'm an old guy myself, 53, so I'm not throwing myself under the bus here. But like, I get it. I mean, everybody at Pewter Report, if we're picking teams, to do anything sports related, like, I'm fine with being last, because Matt and Adam and Bailey and Josh, they're younger than me. And, with youth typically comes energy. So Todd Bowles is not an energetic coach. And sometimes you need that. I remember when Tony Dungy got here, he's no different than Todd Bowles. I mean, Bowles will curse, Dungy wouldn't, but both are kind of calm, soft-spoken guys. Bowles is a little bit more boisterous behind the scenes. And of course, after losing to the Falcons, we saw that come out on the podium. But Dungy had Herm Edwards, who was the fire starter on that coach. He was the sheriff. And so I'm fine with Bowles having younger, more energetic assistants on the defensive staff. It felt like the staff with those older gentlemen, it got stale. The message got stale. There wasn't much energy. And I didn't see an energetic defense out there on most game days.
Yeah, and it's hard, because one thing, we don't have talent. It's another thing when it doesn't seem like you have juice. And again, I thought one of the biggest just saying of like, all right, this team wasn't anything really to like give you any kind of hope going forward is like, hey, let's bring in JPP because we don't have juice. It's just like, damn, bro, like,
what are you doing?
It's one thing if your guys aren't good enough. It's one thing if you're dealing with injuries, but when you're telling me that you're bringing in a guy off his couch because you don't have juice, it's like, geez, you would think that's the least that you would be able to have.
No,
right? Like it's kind of crazy how that's
and these new coaches, they're not going to come in and collaborate with Todd and bring new ideas and stuff like that's not going to happen. I know that disappoints Bucs fans, and I get that. But what I've resigned myself to the fact is if these new coaches, if all they focus on is player development, can Rashad Johnson get Zion McCollum back on track? Can he develop him into the guy this team thought he was going to be when they gave him that contract extension, right? Can Marcus West develop Elijah Roberts and really take a pretty good rookie season and turn it into the next step, right? So he doesn't become Logan Hall, right? Can Tim Atkins, can he get Tyke Smith, who is a really good player, to a Pro Bowl caliber level? Because I think he can be. I think that's inside him, right? So can he develop J.J. Roberts, a guy who was on injured reserve all last year after a very promising training camp and preseason? Can he turn him into what this team thinks he could be, which is a starting caliber defensive back? So if that's all that happens this year, is those new position coaches just work their rooms and get their individual players to perform at a higher level, I think that could be a win for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I wanted to ask you about Jason Light, and I've given you a lot of credit. I've mentioned this on my show a couple times that you said he's done a good job of drafting starters, not stars. Starters, not stars.
Yep.
When you look at Jason Light and the way he's going to approach this offseason, do you think he's going to make any type of adaptation to how he attacks the offseason, whether it's through trade, free agency, or draft? Because we've seen in the past where he kind of went off the cliff there and drafted a guy like Roberto Aguayo, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
And I understand it didn't work, but I like that he had a little bit of like, I'm going to try this. This is something that historically was bad. I don't mind that every once in a while. The second round picks for this team barely work out anyway, so why the hell not, right?
Well, don't say that to Cody Malkin and Antoine Winfield Jr.
Yeah, I know, but 2 out of how many, right, in the last decade or so. But do you look at what his role is going to be this year? Do you expect anything to kind of deviate from the consistency that he's shown the last couple of years, or do you think it's going to be status quo?
Here's what I hope happens, Jay, and I have not had a chance to even talk to Jason Light this offseason. He's been busy doing what he does every year, hire a new offensive coordinator, Todd Bowles. So, it's like he's been preoccupied like every January and early February with coaching changes, right? Specifically finding an offensive coordinator, which is an exhaustive process. They've had to do it every year since Todd Bowles fired Byron Leftwich. But here's what I think is happening and what I hope happens. This team has been caught up in drafting athletes too often and too many times. And what I mean by that is if you go look at the RAS scores, right, the relative athletic scores of these players, the combine numbers, et cetera, Logan Hall, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, Kalijah Kancey, Zion McCollum, right? And I'm going to use Kalijah in there just as a placeholder. I think Kalijah is a pretty instinctive player. So I'm going to say that with an asterisk. But they have focused on getting premium athletes in the draft, especially with premium picks. Even Chris Braswell ran a 4.6, like a pretty good number for an outside linebacker his size. But those players, with the exception of Kancey, because I think he can be a very instinctive player, he just hasn't played a whole bunch. He's played in 29 games. He's missed 22. He's literally missed about just as many games as he's played in, which has been unfortunate for him. But Zion and Logan Hall and Chris Braswell and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, those guys really kind of lacked instincts. And in some cases, toughness. Like Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was a finesse player. He just was, right? And Logan Hall had some finesse in his game. I think he's gotten tougher as he's gotten, along. But, I mean, he wanted a swim move, everybody. Like, that works in college, man. That doesn't work in the NFL. No. It just doesn't. That's not an NFL move. And so, but they got caught up, and you would hear it after these press conferences. I remember, Casey Rogers just raving about Logan Hall and look at his size and his speed and the measurables. Man, what I appreciate about Mark Dominic, who didn't have a lot of success in the draft, but he drafted this guy named Levante David. And that's the guy that they use for the I am that man silhouette now, right? Jason Light has used that to find the next Levante David. And the one thing about Mark Dominic, I give him credit for in drafting him, was he went into the war room back when he was general manager, and he put up the jerseys of all of the great Buccaneer players. And you know what? They really didn't fit that prototype physical mold. Like Warren Sapp was kind of a big, fat, 6 foot, 300 plus pound guy, right? Who, like, you looked at his body and you're like, are you a security guard or do you play in the NFL, right? Derek Brooks, I mean, he was thought about being a safety in the league because he was 6 foot, 215, right? Rondé Barber, 5'10", 180 pounds, did not look like a Hall of Fame imposing cornerback, right? Mike Allstott, big old white dude with a big butt, ran a 4.7 or 4.8 at the combine. It didn't look the part of being a guy that was going to score 75 touchdowns, in Tampa Bay. So my point is what did all those players have? They had instincts. They had toughness, right? They were physical football players, right? They had the mental toughness to go along with the physical toughness with enough athleticism, but they had instincts, high football IQs. I dare you to find a smarter football player than Warren Sapp. Right. I mean, just football IQ off the charts. Rondé Barber, one of the most cerebral people I've ever met in my life, let alone a football player.
No doubt.
Having said that, there's a couple of these Jason Light draft picks recently that don't really fit that mold of the Zion McCollum and the Logan Hall and the Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. Tyke Smith was a football player. He was an instinctive guy at Georgia, tough, physical, dog mentality, creates takeaways, right? And then also too, you look at David Walker, who we haven't seen yet really outside of a couple training camp practices. Then he hurt his knee, but 6'1", 260 pound, 4th round pick, Central Arkansas, instinctive football player, natural feel for getting to the quarterback. 39 sacks in 4 years in college, then went to the Senior Bowl and dominated there, had a sack in the game, showed he could play with the big boys. So these last couple of defensive picks that Jason's had give me some hope and promise that maybe they're saying we don't want athletes, Jay. We want athletic guys, but we got to prioritize football IQ, toughness, instincts. We want football players, not athletes. And I'm hopeful that they continue in that trend.
I think that's one of the worst things you could say about a player.
Yeah.
He's a great athlete because you know what you're not saying? He's a great player.
That's right. And that's Joe Tryon-Shoyinka.
Yeah.
You look at him with the shirt 100%. Off, and he looks the part.
Yeah.
But no instincts, not tough,
No, I'm with you. And that's one of the things that I've been saying here the last couple of weeks is, I love Levante David, but you look at, it can't all be choir boys. And I know it's the I am that man type of thing, but let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Would Jason Light have drafted Warren Sapp?
No, he wouldn't have. And it's a fine line, Jay, right? Because you can't open the door to everybody and say, we want badasses, because then maybe you get James Pierce, right? So it's like, it's a fine line to walk between drafting tough guys and bad dudes, right? I want bad dudes on the football field, not off the field. And sometimes it's hard to have guys, and like John Lynch was one of the nicest guys in the world. Oh, shucks, he's just a good dude, always smiling and all that. I mean, he would literally knock you out. He literally knocked out his brother-in-law. Played for the Chicago Bears. John Allred literally knocked him out of a game, like unconscious with the big hit. So like, that's what you're trying to find. The mean dudes on the football field. Rondé Barber was a silent assassin, right? He was an angry worker. Rondé off the field, smiling, got the $1 million smile. Nice guy. On the field, he's sacking 265-pound Dante Culpepper, right? At 180 pounds. So it's, you want toughness, you want aggressiveness, you want mean dudes, but you don't want bad dudes. You want bad asses, not bad people. And that's really tough. And that's where the interviews, that comes in huge. The top 30 visits, getting to know these guys, that comes into play. But the background checks, like, that comes into play. But I think what Jason Light has done, and you look at the police blotter, and it rarely has anybody from Tampa on it. Right. And if there's anybody that has question marks, he's more inclined to just remove them or really knock them down the draft board, and let those be other teams' problems. Listen, I was one of those people. I was frustrated. I like sacks. I'm a pass rush guy. I saw James Pierce 10.5 sacks as a rookie season, sacking, Baker a couple times on Thursday Night Football. I'm like, man, why couldn't they have gotten that guy? Then all of a sudden, it takes 6 cops to arrest him and put him in cuffs several months later. And you're like, okay, well, I'm glad you didn't, Jason.
Yeah, that's the tough part, right? It really is. It's easier to say, oh, should have done this, shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
I do think though, on the field they need some more Warren Saps, right? We need some more guys like that on the field, like you said.
Well,
that are
and
badasses
let's remove Sapp from it, and we can go more recent. Like Jason Pierre-Paul was a surly dude on the football field. Like Ndamukong Suh. I mean, Ndamukong Suh, the only games he ever missed were games he was suspended for like stomping on people. Okay. Like he didn't miss a game due to injury in his whole entire career, but he missed a couple of games because he got like tossed for stepping on people and stomping them. And I'm okay with that, because off the field, you didn't hear anything from Ndamukong Suh unless it was financial advice.
I was just going to say, unless it was about your finances.
Right, exactly. And so it's like, that's the kind of guy you want. You want the badass on the football field, but the good dude off the field, and it's like, you're always looking and trying to refine your process, right? It's never perfected. Like there's no general manager who's perfect, who gets, every single draft pick's going to be a Pro Bowler, going to be a Hall of Famer. It just doesn't work that way, right? And so you always have to kind of tweak and refine your process. And there's been some years Jason and I has leaned into toughness and physicality. I'm not going to name names or years, but then you're left with, wow, this guy, we got him for his toughness, but he wasn't that good of an athlete. He wasn't athletic enough. And so it's a fine line to kind of recalibrate all the time and try to find enough of an athlete, enough of an instinctive football player, enough physicality and toughness and mental toughness, right? And dog attitude. And you're always just kind of working those dials and just tweaking that process to try to find those players.
We mentioned Lavonte David, and it sounded like he was saying his goodbyes to everybody, but he was also very articulate, and I got to take time. And he does a great job of that, of not making that rash emotional decision. And I know, there was talks about, like, it wasn't 100% last year. And some people say, well, we got to have him back. And, taking the sentiment out of it, Scott, like he just hasn't been the same guy the last couple of years. And it's okay. It's okay. Like people feel like you're like dogging the guy because you could say that he's not the same dude that he was when he was 27 years old. That's all right. What is your gut telling you when it comes to now, as far as where we are in the process with Lavonte David? And would it be a good thing for the Buccaneers to have him back if he did come back? Because, of course, even if he does come back, Scott, and I think you agree with this, they need a heck of a lot more than just him at the linebacker spot.
No doubt. It would. I don't think it's the right move to necessarily bring him back at age 36. Older does not usually equal faster or healthier in the football player equation.
Right.
And having said that, so it's like he can help you from a football IQ standpoint, but even we saw it in Derek Brooks's last season. The mind can diagnose the play, but at some point in time, the legs won't be able to get you there. Right. And so like you can be one step ahead and mentally you're hitting on all those cylinders. Your processes are firing, and the hamstrings, the quads, the calves, they're just not reacting fast enough. You're just not there. Like in your mind, you're there, but then you're not. And then in your mind, you're taking the angle that you used to take, and then you're not there. And you realize you should have taken a different angle because you're just not that fast anymore.
Right.
And so I think that's where we're at with Lavonte David. It's like, for the good of the team, I think it needs to get better and younger and faster at the linebacker positions, better in coverage too. And Lavonte in his prime was one of the best coverage linebackers there was. Yeah. But he's just not there. And the film shows that. And I don't think PFF is the holy grail, but like it's reflective in the PFF scores. I mean, he fell off a cliff from a coverage, tackling, run defense standpoint last year. And that's kind of what you saw on the tape. And it doesn't always end well. There's rarely a happy ending in football, right? Where like you win the trophy and you ride up into the sunset and you retire. That last game for Lavonte, I know it wasn't a playoff game, but you ended with the win. You made a splash play to help save the day. You tied Derek Brooks in the process, right? Like that might not be a bad way to go out. And I just say, if you're the Buccaneers and you have only about $50 million in cap room, do you want to invest, I don't know, $7, $8, $9 million in Lavonte David, or do you want to get a significantly younger linebacker? Alex Anzalone is only 31 years old. He can still play at a pretty good level. He's been in good systems in New Orleans and Detroit. You get him, you're 5 years younger at the linebacker position. And, is he as good as Lavonte David? No, but is he as good as Levante David is right now? I think he's probably better.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then the $1 million question is Mike Evans. And I heard you on with T-Kraz the other day on WDAE. And, I just, the more and more I think about this, and I put out a video 2 days ago about the difference in the Evans and Stamkos situations. I actually came out with another, I'm going to put out another one later on today about another thing that's completely different. If Stammer never flirted with other teams, it was Lightning didn't want him anymore. All right, I got to go somewhere else.
Right.
We're at a point right now, Scott, and it's his prerogative. We can't blame him. But in his mind, he's open to hearing what other people have to say. And a lot of people are kind of just not coming to grips with that's the realization of the situation. Now, I don't necessarily, Ian and I were talking about this the other day. He goes, Jay, I find it hard to believe the guy with hamstring injuries in his mid-30s is going to want to go play in cold weather. And I say, but to win another Super Bowl, he goes, but what if he only plays 4 to 6 games? I feel like it's between the Bucks and say like a Houston, go back home, Galveston, Texas, no state income tax. You're not going to have to worry about moving and worrying about where your kids are going to go to school. That would be a pretty easy question to answer. What do you make of the entire Mike Evans situation, him talking to these other teams? And if he does come back with the Buccaneers, what it's going to cost him?
I beg to differ with Ian. I mean, I didn't play football. He did, but I don't know how many hamstring pulls Ian had as a guard either. Usually when you have hamstring issues, and they plague the Buccaneers because of the hot climate, the humidity, you get dehydrated. And that's where the hamstring issues typically occur. You don't see a lot of northern teams have hamstring issues outside of training camp because it cools off. Right. And then a simple stretch is fine. And you're not going to get as dehydrated playing football, at 70 degrees, with the wind chill of, 70, right. Compared to the Tampa Bay games where it's 95 degrees on the thermometer. The feels like temperature is 115. Right. I think that's where the hamstring issues occur is here in the heat and the humidity because you're getting dehydrated. So to me, I think it's going to come down to, does he want to play? I think if Mike was going to play somewhere else, he is going to have to pick a great quarterback. Like I want to play with Josh Allen, the Bills. I want to play with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Right. And I think it would be for a Super Bowl contender, a legit team where, and the thing is, as I've said before, he saw Tom Brady come down here, a legend in New England. They literally just built a stadium. I mean, a statue outside the stadium for Tom Brady, right? His name is up in the ring. It'll eventually be here in Tampa as well, but it had to be up there first. But Mike has seen Brady go from being an icon in New England, come down here and be the missing piece of the puzzle to help Tampa Bay unlock a Super Bowl door. And that, to me, I think is something, since he witnessed how Brady was embraced with open arms. And then you look at Brady was a legend there. He's also a legend here, even though it was for far fewer years, right? John Lynch is a legend in Denver, just like he's a legend here in Tampa. You can have shared legend status, if you do legendary things in both places. And I just wonder if Mike is looking at what happened with Tom coming down here, and that's saying, hey, I can do this. I can go somewhere else and really help a team and really be that missing piece of the puzzle to win a Super Bowl in Houston or Buffalo or wherever, right? Maybe John Lynch says, hey, man, look at me. I did it in Denver and Tampa. I want you out here in San Francisco doing it too. I can see it happening. I think, and Todd Bowles probably doesn't want to hear this, but I think if Mike does leave, it won't be over money. I don't think Mike gives a crap about money. I think Mike wants X amount of dollars to say, I'm still a good wide receiver, whatever that is, 16, 18, 20 million, whatever it is. I think he wants that just for prestige, but he gives away so many millions of dollars, Jay. He just does. So at this stage, he's made over $100 million. I don't think he cares about, the money part of it. But does he think that Jason Light and Todd Bowles will in the next year or two get this defense to be anywhere close to where this team can be a legit Super Bowl contender? Because it's not right now. I mean, they need 2 linebackers. They need an edge rusher. They need more depth at defensive tackle. They need 2 more cornerbacks because you're starting Benjamin Morrison, who's kind of like an unknown. Zion McCollum's an unknown to a degree. You know, if you're going to get a good Zion or bad Zion, right? Jacob Parrish is okay, but you need depth there. So there's a lot of heavy lifting that needs to be done in the offseason, and you might not be able to finish the project this year. But does Mike have enough faith in Todd Bowles and this defense? Remember, 3rd and 28. You know, like that wasn't. He wasn't yelling at Josh Grizzard or Baker Mayfield.
Right.
He was yelling at the defense and at Todd Bowles.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's a team captain and kind of came out and said, well, we didn't score enough points on offense. BS.
Yeah.
You did. The other side of the ball didn't. And you want to be a good leader and a good team captain and a good company man. You're not going to say that. And I respect that.
Right.
But we know what the truth was, Jay. So if he does leave, it's going to be an indictment on Todd Bowles. It just is. Like that's the only way you can look at this. Then if you're the Blazers, then you have to sit there and look at yourselves across your conference room, because there's like 6 of them, and say, we kept Todd Bowles and we end up losing Mike Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do we feel about that? Like,
even for 1 year, right? Even if he only plays a year or 2 more.
Yeah.
But how does that affect his, and I know what you said about Tom Brady, and I look at it as on that side. I also look on the other side where, Mike, is a better chance of Mike playing 9 games or 10 games next year, or 17, right? I mean, he's that guy who picks up a couple knocks. And if he goes to another place like that and he doesn't play that well, they're not going to have a glowing thing, right? So like you have that built in here with the Buccaneers, where if you only play 10
you know what,
games
Jay,
next year,
I hear what you're saying, but you're going to have it either way, right?
No, of course. But Tampa fans are not going to say, if Mike Evans comes back next year and he plays 10 games and he catches 5 touchdowns and 750 yards, and they win a playoff game or something, nobody's going to, or they even lose, they don't make the playoffs. Nobody's going to be bashing Mike Evans and talk about how it was a bad signing. But he does that in San Francisco, or he does that in Kansas City, or they does that in Buffalo, right? I think they're going to be like, what a terrible signing this was. And also, how important?
And you know what?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you know what? Like, okay, and then you hang him up after that year, come back to Tampa, get the Bucs Ring of Honor, and you're still a Buccaneer legend. So either way, you don't lose anything if you're Mike Evans. You're still a legend, whether you leave or whether you stay.
But you also lose, and then this is what I wanted to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you lose the fact that you only played for one team your entire career, right? Because if that's something that's blown out of proportion, because it's both sides. And for those out there, and I think fans are very short-sighted when it comes to this. He'd never leave. Mike is only going to play for the Bucs. If I would have told you that John Lynch and Warren Sapp were going to play for other teams,
that's right,
you'd probably say I was nuts in the middle of that heyday in the late 90s and early 2000s. But it was just Derek Brooks and it was just Rondé Barber.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that matters to him at all? Because
I don't know.
That's the point, right?
You're right.
I think it all comes down to priorities, right?
Yeah.
What's the most important thing to him? Because I'm with you. If it's like, hey, I want one last crack at a ring, I want to go out on a semi-high note, then Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and then people wouldn't really look down on him, because it's like, hey, who wouldn't want to go play for those guys?
Right.
But if it doesn't work out and they don't make the playoffs, and then I don't want to say tarnish, because that's probably too strong of a but you're not included in that Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber,
Mike
once
Allstott.
a Buck, always a Buck, Mike Allstott, Derek Jeter, guys like that. It kind of comes down to priority. What's the most important thing to him, right, Scott?
It does. And so it's either, do I want to chase a ring, or do I want to go wire to wire and red and pewter like that? Like it's one or the other, really. And we'll know. We're going to find out in about call it 3 weeks. We'll find out, right, where the priorities lie, and only he knows that. And you know what? He might be wrestling with that. It might be one thing one day and one thing the next, right? And that's, I think that's normal, right? To sit there and waffle back and forth and think about things and all of that. And, if I'm Mike, though, I don't re-sign with the Bucs until I see a day or two into free agency what Jason Light and Todd Bowles have done, not what they're going to do. Because like they can say, hey, we're going to sign this free agent. We're going to do this. We're going to make this trade, whatever. If it doesn't come to fruition, because it takes 2 to tango, right? Free agency is a 2-way street. Doing trades is a 2-way street. So if I'm Mike, I'm telling any team interested in me, free agency starts on, I think it's the 10th. I think it's the 10th.
9th or 10th,
I will sign in the afternoon of the 11th with somebody, but I want to see what Tampa's going to do first, right? So if you want me, hang on to your cap room, because I might be coming your way, but it's not going to be during the tampering period. I'm gonna wait and see what the Bucs are going to do, and then if Tampa, if some of those things fall through, or if Mike didn't like what he hears, then got the chance to leave. we'll see what
That's
happens.
the way it goes. Mike may not go wire to wire with Red and Pewter, but Scott Reynolds certainly will.
That's
Make
true.
sure you check out some of the new stuff on David Walker and Devin Culp. A lot of great stuff up on pewterreport.com. Scott, you're the best, man. I appreciate it. Have a good weekend. We'll talk
too,
soon,
man.
buddy.
Yep, you got it. Thank you.
See ya. The great. And I told you guys this earlier. If there's Bucks news coming out and it's not coming from Scott, it's not coming from Rick Stroud, it's not coming from Greg Allman, don't believe it. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and that's the three guys that I check with before anybody else. You got to check with them. Marc Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times will close it out again. And shout out to Richie P. I know you're just joining us, buddy. Our guy Richie P. When Russ Wood passed, Joey wrote a touching article and said, "Life is full of fascinating characters like that. If we only get to know them." Funny that sentiment feels is true about Joey himself. Yes. Very sad that we lost our guy Joey Knight. And I smile because I miss him. And I smile because I remember the good times. I remember him asking uncomfortable questions, man. I'm telling you, ladies and germs, when you are in a setting like that, a lot of people don't know what that's like. And that's why I brought up the entire back and forth with the Jacksonville reporter and Liam Cohen. As much as you want to say it's not a big deal, as much as you want to say that it is a big deal, like a lot of people don't know what that's like. That feeling of being in a scrum, that feeling of being in a press conference, unless you're there all the time for a certain team, it's completely different from where you're at. When you are at and I'll give you the insight because there's not many people here in the Tampa Bay area that have gone to all of them, and I have. And we'll start with the Rays. When you're doing stuff with a Kevin Cash, it's usually for the batting practice, and this is at the Trop. I didn't get a chance to go last year, but at Tropicana Field, batting practice before the game, you speak when he's in the dugout. After the game, you're all crunched up into his office. And then you go to the lockers of each player, but you defer to, for many years, it was Trisha Whitaker. Now it's, Ryan Bass has done a really good job. And then Marc Topkin and Adam Berry from MLB.com, like you defer to those guys. It's interesting because it's a daily thing. Every single day, the same people are pretty much there. When it comes to football, a lot of that stuff, and we'll just talk about game day, you're not talking to the players or the coaches until after the game. And when you're in that press conference, the most populated and attended press conference for any sport in the Tampa area is the Buccaneers. And usually the first question will come from a cast of characters ranging from Greg Allman to Rick Stroud to Jenna Lane to Scott Reynolds to a Pat Donovan or a Chris Mathis from WDAE. Some of the other Pewter Report guys that are there, you'll hear a Bailey or a Matt Matera asking some questions as well. Rob Motti, if he's there from the AP. There's just a lot of different voices in that room. You just don't know who you're going to hear from. Hockey's different, right? Hockey, it's pretty much the same crew. It's whether it's Coop before a game, after morning skate, or post game in the room. It's Eric Erlinson, Ed Encina, D'Angelo Lou, Ben Pierce, maybe John Romano was there as well, Corey Long, our pal, and myself. And then USF, for years, it's been Joey Knight, Joey Johnston when he was working for the paper, now that he works for USF, our guy Nathan Bond from the Daily Stampede, and then myself when I'm there. It's like 3 or 4 guys. And it's just a different element. And Joey covered it with such class. And again, when Tampa Bay was going on, there was not a lot of great things going on for USF. Excuse me. I woke up early today when I saw that news, and I couldn't go back to sleep. It was rough. Jeremy Lowe, Scott Reynolds, best in the business. Love that guy. You got that right, buddy. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. A big thank you to Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. They just finished their first custom home in. It looks fantastic. I'm actually going to meet with Hammer next week. Get up with him and see one of the other homes that he's been working on. Couldn't do this without them. They've been with us since the beginning. 813-244-0956 for all your residential and commercial needs. Kitchen, bathroom renovations. If you have a fresh plot of land and you're trying to have a new build on there, he can help you out. Looking to renovate one of your places in your house, he can take care of you. And of course, EverHealth. Next week we'll have our EverHealth injury report with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. He was out of town on a conference, but 17 different locations in Pinellas County. Everything from the cradle to the grave. They have a sliding scale for the uninsured. They take all kinds of insurance. The EverHealth Institute, if you want to change your career and get hands-on training working in the medical field, it's where it's at. Love EverHealth. Love Dr. Rodriguez. And I can't wait to ask him next week about the discussion that we just had. And remind me, guys, in case I forget, please remind me about asking him about the hamstring injuries, because I think it's very curious that Scott brings up the fact of the less hamstring injuries happening in cold weather versus what Ian was saying was there's more because you don't get limbered up. You don't, work out as much as you should. And Scott's saying that more of those injuries come from the hot weather and the dehydration. So that's a great question. Penny, not now, you ding dong. Dr. Odd about hamstring injuries. We'll remember next Thursday when he joins us at 12:30. Again, if you're just joining us, remembering a lot of our guy Joey Knight today, talking a lot of Olympic hockey, a big comeback for Team Canada, a late power play goal with less than 35 seconds to go from the stick of Nathan McKinnon, just squeaks one past UC Saros on the near side, a one-timer to put Canada in the gold medal game. They fall down 2-0. They come back and they win 3-2. Just absolutely incredible performance by the Canadians. And John Cooper is happy today. And he rallied the troops after the game in front of the bench to give them their final pep talk on that ice that day at Santa Julia Arena. Again, semifinal number 2 coming up at 3:10 today between the U.S. and the Slovaks. I don't anticipate any changes when it comes to the overall lineup on the ice. In Milan, we did see a little bit of a change when it came to the line structure. That first line, second line is going to be the same. You'll have Eichel between the Kachucks, as well as Austin Matthews with Jake Gensel and Matthew Boldy. But where Jack Hughes plays today is going to be very interesting. And don't be surprised if he gets deployed in a more offensive role if they end up moving on in this tournament, because he has been skating. He's just been incredible. And the chemistry that he has with his brother, don't be surprised if they change the look on the power play. Tage Thompson's been the guy there. But if they want to mix things up, that Jack Hughes, Quinn Hughes chemistry has been phenomenal. So Jack Hughes looks like he's slotting up to the third line now with Dylan Larkin and Tage Thompson. And then you're looking at a fourth line of a JT Miller, Clayton Keller, a Vinny Trocheck, and a Brock Nelson. I don't see Nelson and Trocheck coming out because of how tough they are to play against and their ability to win faceoffs. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But Canada has taken care of business in the first semifinal, and now it is on the Tampa Bay. Team USA. I got Tampa Bay on the mind, but it's on USA. And I was a little worried there for Canada because I think it's the clash that we've all been waiting for, that we've been touting since day one, for this Olympic hockey season to end with a U.S.-Canada matchup. I mean, this is what we all signed up for. This is the script that we've been handed, and hopefully this is what we get. But the U.S. has to take care of business. It starts at 3:10 today. You cannot take the Slovakians lightly. We know Eric Chernak is going to give it all he's got, and Juraj Slafkowski, the number 1 overall pick from the Montreal Canadiens a couple years ago. He's really found his game in the last month, 6 weeks or so for Martin St. Louis and Les Habitants. And on the international stage, he's on another level. He's that power forward that everybody on their team wishes they had, and he's going to be a handful for Team USA. We'll see if Quinn Hughes and Charlie McAvoy and the guys can do a job keeping him out of the dangerous areas and help the red, white, and blue to victory. All right, let's bring him in and let's finish the show the only way we know how, with the voice of the Tampa Bay Rays, our guy Marc Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times. And Marc, thank you so much for joining us today. And I said to start the show, it's incredibly poetic. I didn't plan this out this way, but our first guest was Wes Enis, the USF sharpshooter, and you're our final guest on the show today. We lost a dear friend of ours this morning, the great Joey Knight, and it's so sad. We know he battled his ass off, and I saw him in the press box multiple times. He said, Jay, it's going to take me a couple of days to get back to my seat. I said, it's okay, buddy. We're just glad to see you here. First off, welcome. Thank you, Marc, for making some time today. I know you're very busy, but just some words on your colleague, Joey Knight. He will sorely be missed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best thing you could say about Joey is that you couldn't say a bad thing about Joey. I know that doesn't really make sense, but it's true. I mean, we talk about, somebody was one of the good guys, this and that, and probably half the time we meet it and half the time we don't. But Joey Knight truly was one of the good guys, and he battled and he battled. You can tell I'm getting a little broken up here, but just sad news to wake up to today, and we're obviously going to miss him. And he had a pretty good, I think he made a pretty good impression on the Tampa Bay sports scene. I mean, every high school athlete, every USF athlete. I mean, he connected with so many people throughout this community and did an outstanding job for us. So we're certainly going to miss him.
Yeah, and I love what another one of your former colleagues has said on social media, Matt Baker, talking about how he raised the level of importance of the stories that he was writing because it was important to somebody out there. And I always took that from him, and I always applauded every effort that he had, because listen, he had it rough, man, because some of those games and some of those seasons, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, it hasn't been all roses for you covering the Rays over the years, my friend. But, man, he was there through some tough times, and he asked some of those tough questions. And on social media, sometimes he's catching the heat. I'm like, he's not throwing the passes. He's not missing the shots. You can't blame Joey. But
exactly,
be able to do that work, Marc, a day in, day out on a beat that's, sometimes it's frequented by a lot of media members and sometimes it's not. I mean, I feel like the job that he was able to do through the ups and downs is just something that I remember very fondly, professionally, outside of, the personal and the guy that we ended up really enjoyed being around.
Yeah, I mean, the media environment has changed. Obviously, there's some markets and there's some teams where the only people covering the team or the majority of the people covering the team actually work for the team or the school or the organization in some fashion. And sometimes that means the newspaper people, and I'm not trying to ignore yourself or other people, but sometimes there's days where the newspaper people are the only people there that are asking the negative question or asking what went wrong, not just what went right. And we kind of get painted as the bad guys. And Joey was in that situation often at USF. And you're right, he got ganged up on a lot on social media, but I think Joey had a pretty good North Star.
He did. And
he kind of knew what was right. He knew what to do. And the other thing is, and you kind of alluded to this, was, we cover pro sports, right? So it's cool to go talk to Junior Caminero and Shane McClanahan. And, I'm working on a story for Sunday on Cam Boozer, a guy who's had this remarkable comeback story. He's in camp with the Rays, pro athlete though. But Joey would be just as happy to go out and do a story on a high school athlete. He loved writing about high school coaches. He loved writing about the veteran high school coaches who stuck around and what they went through. And he kind of gave voice to those people as well. It's not only about, the pro beats and the major college beats. And I think Joey, we admired his willingness. Sometimes we were glad he was the one doing it, but we admired his willingness to go out there and write those stories and like I say, give voice to those people in our community as well.
Yeah, he always made me feel very important because he knew that I coached high school baseball and he knew that I covered a lot of different things. And he was very appreciative at times that there was other people that I would be there and I'd ask a question and he didn't have to be the one bringing it up all the time. And I know you've dealt with that too. I mean, God bless. Every time you tweet out the attendance, everybody thinks that you're just like, come on, man. He does it every game, whether it's good or bad. Get off this guy's case, would you? All right, so let's talk some Rays baseball. What's kind of the big overriding sentiment right now when it comes to the optimism of this team? I had Doug Rechter on earlier this week, and it just seems like kind of all right, another year under Junior Caminero. You kind of put some of the guys that aren't here behind you. Like, what's kind of the identity from what you're observing so far early on with this new group? Because it does look like there needs to be some new leaders that need to emerge with some of these guys that have gone out.
Yeah, and I think, you saw a very targeted operation by Eric Neander and who they signed this offseason. They went out and signed a handful of free agents. That's atypical behavior for them. And well, it wasn't huge money, obviously, but they were some big name guys, and there was a reason. Cedric Mullins, Jake Fraley, Steven Matz, Nick Martinez, and then trading for Gavin Lux. These are guys that have some been there, done that under them. They knew they were taking some leaders out of that clubhouse in Brandon Lau and Pete Fairbanks, other guys over the years. Christopher Morel wasn't a good player. He was a guy that, certainly with Junior Caminero and others connected with players in that clubhouse. So they took some guys out of there that had a leadership role, and they wanted to bring some in. And, Eric made the analogy in one of the pieces I read earlier this spring. Go back to the 2008 team, and, people will still talk about the influence that Eric Hinsky and Cliff Floyd had. Go back to, the playoff run that started in 19. There was always that veteran pitcher, right? There was Charlie Morton, there was Corey Kluber, there was Rich Hill, those kind of guys. So I think they wanted some of that. That's what they brought in. And as far as, like you said, kind of the vibe here was to bring in some guys that are willing to step forward. And I talked to Cedric Mullins about it. He's not a stand up in front of the room, yell at people guy, but he said, I'm a guy that shows, I just put my head down and do my stuff. And if people have questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but kind of does it by example. Nick Martinez, the amount of people, I think Eric said this, I don't remember if I'd used it or not, but Eric said something that he got more texts from people in the industry after word got out they were signing Nick Martinez than any other player he could recall.
Wow.
That's kind of telling too. And so I think that's part of the vibe down here. The other part is there's a little bit of like, screw the world. Like, they see all these projections, they see these predictions. I think the betting line over under is like 78 and a half for wins. I think Fangraphs has them around there maybe, and Pacoda, which is Baseball Prospectus, has them at 80 or 80.9 or something, just under 500. But nobody expects them to be very good. Neander's kind of had a rallying cry. He said this a few times, and probably will if you have him on too, where he says that we feel good about what we have. Look back at our history. We've had teams before that there wasn't much expectation from the public on, and they did pretty well. We feel we can do that again. Now, that being said, the American League East, it's always tough, but it seems particularly tough this year. You look at what the Orioles have done, the massive amount of improvements. The Yankees running it back. I know they've taken some heat from their fans, but that was a decent team that they're kind of running back, and they're going to get Cole and some other pitchers back at some point during the year. The Red Sox, I've seen some people rave about the improvements they've made. I don't know if I personally feel that way looking at it. I think there's some question marks, but they should be at least as good or better. And then, oh, by the way, Toronto was, a few inches of IKF's foot away from winning the World Series last year. So it's going to be a pretty rigorous division. And obviously, 3 teams probably is what can make it, just because of how, they're going to play each other enough that you probably can't get like all 3 wild cards from here. But I do think it's going to be a challenging year. I think they are trying to do still try to compete this year, but obviously a lot of these trades they've made over the last 2 years, we're getting some young talent. Some of that's in camp, and we're going to see, certainly Jacob Melton is the guy that stands out of all the guys they got in trade this offseason that they feel really high of. I know Cash has made the comment a couple times that he hits the ball as hard as Junior and Yandy. Like, okay, that's probably, you could stop there and be like, okay, I want to see more of that guy, right? The fact that he's like a fast, really good defensive outfielder. And I think on another call, Neander said he could be a 40 stolen base guy. Like, all those tools. I mean, he's got to get it all put together, but that's a pretty good package, that could be a key guy for them for a number of years going forward. So, yes, they think they can compete this year. They kind of have the chip on their shoulder. They're also building toward, what they hope is obviously a new stadium in a couple of years, and this all comes together. But if nothing else, trying to make that future better, raise the floor of the talent pool, I think, in the organization was part of their goal as well.
You mentioned the stadium there. Obviously, that's been a hot topic of conversation. Excuse me if
Really,
I'm jaded.
I haven't seen anything.
Excuse me if I've been a little jaded, though, my friend. And I've had our good friend Colleen, right from the Tampa Bay Times. We've had a bunch of different people from the Times over there. It's just tough for me, right? It's tough for me to be like, all right, yeah, I believe you guys. I got to see shovels in the ground, right? Is that a hot topic? I know it is social media wise, but in camp, I know they can't really worry about that stuff. They got to focus on the season. But what's the latest on the stadium as far as some of the buzz maybe there in Port Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean, you're right in what you said. The players, for the most part of it is they're not really into that like we are. We're like, certainly, at the Times, and we pride ourselves on having every development written about. But we understand there's also some stadium fatigue out there, and I think players are the ones, as much as anyone, that like, okay, tell me tell me what I need to know and when it matters. But the other thing is, Jay, too, like, how many of them are really going to be here in 2029? I mean, Junior Caminero is a key guy in that conversation, obviously, and he said the other day he'd obviously be open to talk about an extension. But for the most part, this group of guys aren't going to be the ones. That's part of what Neander's trying to do, is build that base. I mean, Jacob Melton, Carson Williams, those would be guys that they hope are just kind of coming into, a run of stardom by 28, 29. And obviously some of the other guys they have at AAA, they've got in camp, the pitchers, Brady Hopkins, Ty Johnson, TJ Nichols, 3 really good guys who finished last year at AA. So that group, kind of grow up with this, maybe be ready when the stadium is. But not a lot of talk here specifically. I know Ken Babby's running around here. That guy never sleeps, never sits still. I mean, he's like the Energizer Bunny type of guy, I guess you'd say. But he's leading that effort there. And we haven't talked to him down here. He spoke, obviously, at FanFest last Saturday. And, they've made it clear, what they're trying to do in getting the community excited about this. Obviously, they still have to negotiate with Hillsborough County and probably with the city of Tampa to get the financing done. But I think their efforts is, they put the renderings out, the initial renderings, and then have these meetings, both with like some targeted groups to show them that they want to work with them, like the firefighters union, the police union.
Right.
But also I think they're going to have some of these meetings with fans and get some input, like, hey, what would you like to see? I know if you did that survey they sent out, was very detailed. It took a long time, but you could tell there's a methodology to surveys, and you could kind of see what they were trying to do and asking some of those questions, some of the either ors and some of the rankings to try to get a feel for what people think is important, right? And it's a targeted survey, so it's not necessarily a genuine sampling, but it's also targeted. It was targeted to people who bought tickets from the Rays before, so kind of targeted to their audience. So it'll be interesting to see what some of those findings are if they share.
I want to ask you about opening day. You wrote, and Cash said that it was a pretty easy choice for Drew Rasmussen. What does that say about Shane McClanahan? Because for me, and I know he's missed time, but this is a guy that started in the All-Star game, and you would hope that he's going to be as close to 100% as possible. We know, health is the number one important thing. Is it more of just kind of a safe call because, obviously Drew didn't, Drew pitched last year and made the All-Star team. And then also, who's going to be starting at shortstop opening day? Are we going to see Carson there, or are they, and obviously we know what they feel about when it comes to a guy like Taylor Walls and how well he is, how good he is defensively, but Carson's the guy of the future. So your thoughts on the pitching side and the shortstop side for opening day?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to me, Drew Rasmussen was the obvious choice. I think Shane, at least to start the season, they are going to be in a very protective mode with Shane. And part of that is, look, it was a weird injury, right? I mean, I think we've all kind of forgotten. It's easy to write that he's been out since August of 2023 with arm injuries. I've used that sentence a bunch of times, but he really wasn't. He was back. He did all the work. He went through all the rehab. He came into spring training. At this time last year, we're thinking he should be on some of these Cy Young lists, right? And he got to the last exhibition, and this weird nerve thing happened. So he's kind of been back, and then this happened. So there's a little of that uncertainty, like, what was this nerve thing? The Rays, consulted all these experts and stuff, but I think there's still a little bit of like, that was weird. They don't want to do anything to risk that. They've been assured he's fine, he's good to go, but I think you'll see him handled very carefully. It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up at the back end of the rotation. It wouldn't surprise me if, if there's a day off and they have to swing something around where somebody's going to get an extra day's rest, he'll be that guy. I think they're going to be very cautious with him. The other thing is, they open the season in some pretty cold weather. You got to be careful with pitchers' arms and that. They play in St. Louis, they play in Milwaukee, which does have at least a dome, and then they play in Minnesota. Maybe if there's a way to set it up where he only pitches in Milwaukee, that might make sense. You just want to be careful with him. So I think you'll see that. I remember last year, Drew kind of limited to 5 innings early on. Then they said he could get to 6. That was going to be the max. And there were some games where Cash took him out after 6 innings. And even knowing the rules, we're like, what is he doing? You got to let him go. And then, they had that stretch where he went like 2 innings, 2 innings, 3 innings. And Joe Boyle kind of pitched behind him because they wanted to slow him down in midseason so he could go wire to wire. So I think they're going to be very careful with Shane. So like I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see him at the back end, Drew at the front end, then some combination in the middle of Nick Martinez, Pepio, Steven Matz, probably between them. They went all year without a lefty till Ian Seymour, made a couple of spot starts. Now you got potentially, or you should have 2 lefties in the rotation. Split those guys up, force teams to kind of juggle their lineups that have platoon guys and keep the hitters from getting in a rhythm by alternating them. That's a pretty common tactic these days. So that makes sense to me. As far as your other question, I think even if Carson Williams has a good camp, my sense would be they still send him back. They let Taylor Wall start the year. Carson came up. We all saw what he did. He flashed some power. He flashed some good defense, but he struggled at the plate. He was, dealing with major league pitching, major league breaking balls, the control, all the things that make major league pitchers.
Right.
And as tough as a kid as they say he is, and all he struggled early in the year at AAA. He worked his way through that. You probably want to be careful to not bring him up and have him fail again, right? And if you were to get sent back down a second time, there's a mental aspect to this too. So let him go to AAA. Let him tear it up. Let him force your hand, but go to AAA for a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And then if he looks like he's ready to handle it, bring him up with that positive reinforcement. And then, they can hope he just kind of rolls from there. So I would pick Taylor Walls as your opening day Tampa Bay Rays shortstop.
Speaking of shortstops, I didn't know I was going to ask you about this, but I saw you wrote an article on it. This whole Wander Franco situation, I had somebody just ask me a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh, wow, I totally forgot about it because it was out of sight, out of mind. Is there any way possible that he ever comes back to play in the major leagues? Because when people ask me that and I say he has to apply for a visa, and it's not like guilty until proven innocent kind of, or innocent until proven guilty thing. It's like, if they don't necessarily think you're a great guy, they just don't have to let you back in the country altogether. It's not necessarily a court of law. What do you make of the whole Wander situation? Are we yet close to a conclusion, do you think? It's just so weird that we've gotten to this point.
Yeah, look, and I don't, I have a hard enough time predicting things that happen in the U.S. that we kind of know all the machinations of, right? The Dominican court system has been really interesting to try to learn in covering this, and with the help of some of our colleagues at the Times who are better versed in Spanish than I. But yeah, today was a weird one, right? They set up for this. I mean, Juan Carlos Chavez, one of our reporters, interviewed the lawyer, Wander's lawyer, yesterday. We had the quotes in today's paper. He said, we're ready to go. We'll see how this goes. We'll see what happens starting tomorrow. Wander's confident, optimistic. Then it comes out in court this morning that they were the ones who requested a delay because they didn't have all their witnesses there, the defense. So now this thing's delayed till the end of March. It's going to start March 30th. I guess they've got 3 days blocked out. Last time it took, several weeks once they finally got it going. But in answer to your bigger question, Jay, I don't think, and if anyone out there is a better expert at Dominican law and wants to, call in or message me or you, whatever, but I don't think you can say there's a non-zero. I don't think you can say there's a 0% chance of him coming back to play in the big leagues and or with the Rays. I think it's definitely in a non-zero category because, at this moment, he's facing charges. If he were to be acquitted or found innocent, whatever phrasing they use down there in this trial, I don't know. I mean, he's not guilty of a crime in theory. This is the most recent ruling. Yes, the current political climate, you wonder how the visa application process would go. You wonder if Major League Baseball is going to have any discipline at some point. They've kind of waited. They want to wait till the legal process plays out. But I all that being said, I don't think you can say it's impossible that Wander Franco gets a visa and comes back or tries to come back and return. Now, the biggest question is going to be, do the Rays put him back on the field? Right. Do they want to do that? What is their calculations? Is that the right thing to do for the organization? How are the fans going to react to that? How are the teammates going to react to that? There'd be a lot for them to sort through. The other side of that is a much simpler equation. They owe him $164 million still. Whether he were to get back pay for the last couple of years and whether he would get service time and all those things is going to be settled through arbitration. But from this coming season forward, they still owe him $164 million. The Players Union has a pretty strong record of not letting guaranteed money go away or become unguaranteed. So somebody has to pay that money. I mean, do the Rays, do they try to work out a trade? Do they try to negotiate a settlement? But I think that would be, if he's innocent and it's over, all the appeals are exhausted, it could come down to the visa process. It could come down to MLB discipline. It could come down to the Rays having to make a very interesting and difficult decision.
Wow, Mark, that is unbelievable. The door not closed on Wander Franco. Not likely, but definitely not closed. Do you know that Stephen Match has a sandwich named after him?
Is it mozzarella? What is it?
No. Okay. So there's a Seaport Deli, and my sister lives right down the block. So Seaport, she lives in Port Jefferson. I don't know what I can't know. But the
New Jersey, New York, where are we talking?
It's Long Island. Long Island. He's a Long Island guy. So the Stephen Mats, or you just order the Mats. It's chicken cutlet, melted Jack and cheddar cheeses, crispy bacon, lettuce, tomato, topped with pepper house dressing on a toasted garlic hero. The Mats, the Stephen Mats at the Seaport Deli. That's perfect for your notebook, buddy.
That might be in Ray's rumblings this week. It sounds good, but it feels like a missed opportunity to not have mozzarella, right? You can play.
You're right. You're right. I'm going to talk to the deli owners next time I'm up there.
There you go.
Everybody,
I think your obligation. I think next time you're up there, you need to order that sandwich and tweet a picture of it.
You're right, buddy. You're right. I'm missing the boat, buddy. This is why you're the number one guy here in the Tampa Bay area for everything Rays and beyond.
Food and social media. There you go.
That's right. Grandfather Marc Topkin, man. And congratulations on the new little one in the Topkin
Thank
family.
you. We got Eli and Henry now. So we got two.
Gosh. Two strong names. Everybody out there, before Mark goes, I say this every time we have Ed on. We have Rick on and Colleen and Joey and God rest his soul and Romano and everybody. Please subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times, man. Support local. We just heard it. We spoke about that a little bit today. If you do it in honor of Joey Knight, we'll take that too. But on day after day after day, getting coverage during spring training, during Mike Evans saga, during Olympic hockey, during USF, during everything, you want to make sure that you support local. Our friends at the Tampa Bay Times, the stadium, right? We have people. There was people writing about the stadium I've never even heard about. I thought I knew everybody with the Tampa Bay Times. They've got everybody feet on the ground with all the great stories. Support local, man. This is the Tampa Bay area. We always want to do that for our friends at the Tampa Bay Times. Mark, you're the best. You are the man. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good weekend. Talk soon, buddy.
Appreciate it, Jay. You too.
All right, buddy. The one and only Marc Topkin, man. There's nobody else I'd go to for discussions on the Tampa Bay Rays, and of course, on a day like today where we remember our good friend Joey Knight. I always say, and people have asked me, like, Jay, you've covered World Series and Stanley Cups and Super Bowls and WrestleManias. What's the best part of your job? The best part of my job is not the events. The best part of my job is not the players. It's not the teams. It's not the wins. It's not the losses. It's not the locker rooms. It's the people that we work with. It is. It's guys like Marc Topkin, seeing him now a grandfather to two kids and, glowingly speaking about his daughter and his son and his two grandbabies. And, Mark lost his son years ago to suicide, and we always have a taco for him. And it's a lot, man. It's a lot. And I said this, and I'll finish the show and I'll finish the week on this. I got my guys out on the field last night, and I had my 13s, my 15s, and my 18-year-olds together. And, one of the things that we really have to focus on in this generation of kids of, making sure that they understand the quality of the time that they spend whether it's at school, whether it's on the baseball field. And I asked them, I said, what's the one thing that you can't buy in this life? And they said, well, happiness and love and all those things. And I go, you see people with these $1 million cars, they're pretty happy. You see these 80-year-old men and they got 25-year-old wives. Yeah, you can buy love too. But the one thing that you cannot buy is time. You can never get it back. Don't waste your time. Value the time that you spend with your loved ones. Do not ever, ever take it for granted. If we've learned anything this week, whether it's the start of the week talking about us losing baby Julius, the 3-year anniversary of that, or ending the week with the news that Joey Knight lost his battle with cancer. Don't take life for granted. It's so fragile. You never know when it's your last day. I can't thank you guys enough for the love and the support throughout the entire week, the entire year. Could not do this without you. Nobody's going to have the type of guest that we had on today on the same day and to be able to talk about a multitude of topics. I mean, you just think about it. We were able to talk Olympic hockey. We were able to talk about USF. We were able to talk about high school baseball and Coach Miguel Menendez and Jesuit tonight at Plant. Make sure 813preps.com for your best coverage there. So Buccaneer Talk with Scott Reynolds from Pewter Report. And then, of course, chatting with our guy Marc Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times. This is what you're going to get here on the Recher podcast. There is no show like it here in the Tampa Bay area. Never been one, never will be one. Nobody talks about the things we talk here on the program. All right, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. A big thank you to Honest Hammer and EverHealth, David Terry. And look at my guy, Jay Gatto, right here. Thank you so much with the super chats. Could not do this without you. I love you all. Everybody have a safe, a happy, a healthy weekend. Go USA at 3:10 today. They better freaking win now that Canada's won. So we have a gold medal match on Sunday. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Even you, David Terry, you Liverpool loving bastard. I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys on Monday at noon right here on the Recher podcast. I'm gone. Peace out.